We've got video. He came off the roof. He walked up. He came up here to the parking lot, got in the car with an individual, and they drove away. Well, that's not the story that came. So that he escaped another route. And there are people who are coordinating this thing. I do not believe that 30-06 that they showed recovered in the bushes was ever on the roof. I think it was in the bushes to start with. And now I'm not saying that Tyler Robinson wasn't on the roof. I'm not saying he didn't pull a trigger. I know I was in very, very close proximity. Some people started, running. Everyone was trying to process. And I thought, this is a gunshot, and there's going to be more of them. I thought it could turn into a mass shooting. So I go to the people closest to me. Everyone's ducking down behind the concrete retaining walls, and some of them were still kind of oblivious, but there were two people that were standing there. Two girls, very goth, very black, And I did right here. Did you hear that? Was that right here? They said, yeah, it was just right over there. So they're confirming, yeah, the shooter or wherever that sound came from is right here. The thing that didn't really dawn on me is that they were not running. They were not frightened. In fact, as I stepped up, I heard one of the girls, and they were talking to each other, and they're looking at these kids, looking at the scene down below them of all these people fleeing for their lives. And she says, go F yourselves. Like I say, I was not processing that. I was trying to figure out what was going on. I thought this is a separate conversation. I don't know what it is. In hindsight, as I've watched that over and over, it's like these people were not afraid. If they're saying the shooter.
Okay, I didn't want to leave you guys on a crazy weekend cliffhanger. I needed to get that information out as soon as possible. Obviously, you can probably see that I received some information, a communication, which answered a lot of questions that the public has had about the story, or rather the non-story that we are getting from the feds. The push that Tyler Robinson is this lone shooter, which they're trying to establish as a fact. Some of the burning questions that we had, okay, well, if he turned himself in, how did he also not confess? I now have the answers to that. The main point, the reason why this information came to me, is because there's a narrative being spun right now by the media that Tyler Robinson is or was suicidal. That is not true. And that's a very scary thing when suddenly they're saying he's suicidal and, he's in solitary, and he's not suicidal. So that was the reason why this information urgently came to me. Obviously, I know a lot more.
We've been risking a lot to bring you the truth about this case. We've spent hours chasing leads, talking to witnesses, digging into evidence the mainstream won't touch. And because of that, our original channel, the one with over 5,000 subscribers, was suddenly wiped off YouTube with no warning and no reason given. Gone. Years of work, hundreds of videos, silenced overnight. That's what happens when you dig too close to the truth. If you're watching this right now, understand, this channel could be next. We don't have the protection of big networks. All we have is you. So please, don't just watch and scroll away. Subscribe right now, turn on notifications, share this video with at least one friend, post it in your groups, email it, text it. If you don't, this investigation dies, the truth dies, and the people who want to bury this story will win. You have the power to keep this alive. If you've ever said someone should do something, this is your chance. We're doing our part. All we ask is that you do yours. Subscribe, share, and stand with us. Because the closer we get to the truth, the harder they try to silence us. Don't let them. Tonight, we're stepping back into the shadows of one of the most controversial shootings in modern American history, the killing of Charlie Kirk. The headlines were fast. The suspect's name was everywhere. His face plastered across every network. To the public, the story seemed neatly wrapped up. A lone gunman, a clear motive, a swift arrest. Case closed. Or at least that's what they wanted us to believe. But the closer you look, the more that official narrative begins to collapse. September 10th, 2025, Arm, Utah. Thousands gathered inside a packed auditorium, waiting to hear a speech. Families, students, children, and then chaos. A single gunshot cracked through the air like lightning. Screams followed. Parents shielded their kids. People scrambled for cover. Panic took over. By dawn, the suspect was in custody. Tyler Robinson, 22 years old, no criminal record, suddenly branded an assassin. Within hours, his name was carved into headlines. Arrested, charged, condemned in the court of public opinion. But here's the haunting question. What if that picture isn't just incomplete, but completely wrong? From the very beginning, cracks appeared in the story. The weapon they recovered, the path of the bullet, the witnesses who swore the sound came from inside the auditorium, not a rooftop. Medical reports showed no exit wound. Instead, the bullet was lodged inside Kirk's neck, a trajectory impossible from the rooftop angle police claimed. Forensic experts we consulted didn't hesitate. They told us straight, the official story collapses under basic scrutiny. And then, the details that still haunt those who were there. Eyewitnesses reported seeing movement, shadows behind the stage, where no one was supposed to be. Two girls stood close by, calm, unafraid, whispering words that seemed meaningless at the time, but in hindsight chilling. While everyone else panicked, they didn't flinch. And then there's the so-called digital trail, a handwritten note under Robinson's keyboard, angry messages sent online. But evidence so perfect it almost feels staged, almost like someone wanted Robinson to be the perfect fall guy. If that's true, then tonight as we speak, an innocent man could be sitting in a cell awaiting the death penalty while the real shooter walks free. For the Kirk family, this isn't politics. This is heartbreak. They've lost a husband, a father, a son. Every court hearing is agony, staring across the room at the man accused of pulling the trigger, desperate for answers, desperate for truth. But outside those courthouse walls, the country is divided. Protesters line the streets. Some scream for harsher punishment, demanding Robinson's conviction to send a message. Others cry out that this is a setup, warning that justice is about to destroy an innocent life. The divide is sharp, the tension is electric, and the stakes, they couldn't be higher. Because if the forensic evidence holds up, the entire case against Tyler Robinson could collapse. And if it collapses, the question becomes unavoidable. Who really pulled the trigger? And here's what makes this even darker. Every piece of evidence that should have closed this case raises more questions. If the bullet path points to a close-range shot, how could Robinson fire it from a rooftop? If witnesses insist the sound was sharp and immediate, why does the state ignore their voices? If the rifle police recovered should have caused an exit wound, why was the bullet lodged inside? And if Robinson truly wrote a confession note, why hide it in the most obvious place under his own keyboard, as if begging investigators to find it? It doesn't add up. Not even close. We've been following this story from the very beginning. We've asked the questions no one else dares to ask. And because of that, our other channel with over 5,000 subscribers was suddenly taken down. No warning, no strike. No explanation, years of work, hours of investigation, hundreds of videos, gone overnight, silenced. That's what happens when you dig too close to the truth. If you're watching this right now, I need you to understand something. This channel could be next. We don't have sponsors. We don't have the protection of corporate media. All we have, so please, don't just sit back and watch. If you do, this investigation dies with us. The truth dies, and the people who want to bury this story win. Subscribe right now. Turn on notifications. Share this video with at least one person. Post it in your group chats. Email it. Text it. Put it out there. If you've ever said someone should do something, this is your chance. We're doing our part. All we ask is that you do yours. Because the closer we get to the truth, the harder they try to silence us. Don't let them. This case isn't over. Not for the Kirk family. Not for Tyler Robinson. Not for the rest of us. Who really killed Charlie Kirk? The investigation continues.